Today I'm speaking to Mandy, who I met a few years back. I think in one of my training courses. Um, Mandy is a Scrum Master, an Agile coach, and very much a servant leader. So Mandy is going to be talking to us about her experiences and growth with the Agile Coaching Growth Wheel. So welcome, Mandy. How did you use the wheel?
Okay, so first and foremost, I used the wheel for myself, um, and I found that when I went into situations where, for example, you've been dragged into the boss's office on week one of your client journey, and they are asking you on week one, Mandy, why are we failing the project? Or you're at another client and the client is saying, shall we pull the plug on this? And you're thinking, oh my God, these are really big questions that are going to have quite big knock-on effect. The fact that they want my opinion. And I found that the wheel helped me quite a lot by navigating myself in terms of my journey in my learning. So yeah, so I've often used the wheel as a guide, as a compass, and it's also helped me to discover what I love doing, I think. So yeah, so how do you know what you're going to like and enjoy in terms of this massive world of Agile, um, if you don't really know what you like? So I quite like the fact that it's been split into these really good segments of facilitation, coaching, learning, advising, and things like that. So yeah, so that's how I've looked at it and thought, okay, which bit of it resonates with me? So
So Mandy, on that, in terms of which bits resonated with you, and actually feel free to highlight different bits, along your journey, so at different times, what aspects of the wheel have maybe stood out for you and really helped?
so for me, the bits that really helped were things like the agile lean practitioner. So what does that really mean? For me, as somebody who's an agile coach, somebody who's a scrum master, somebody who's helping, the team, the product owner, the business, what does that actually mean? So by virtue of going a bit further into agile and lean, and the frameworks and practices, I've been able to say, I've been able to advise and say, well, my experience and my advice would be, if we start with say, for example, Scrum framework, we should then follow that Scrum framework and keep the team sizes to the size that the Scrum guideline sort of, says, because there are reasons why there are guidelines. And so those sorts of parts of the agile, the framework and practices has really helped. And also, I think for me personally, like serving, because in the Scrum guide, for example, I don't think it really says serving anymore because they've changed it. But I really like this because the whole reason I wanted to do a Scrum Master certificate, I've done the product owner one as well, but the reason I wanted to do the Scrum Master one for so long was because I quite like being in service of the team, the business. I like serving. I feel like I'm putting myself in that sort of area of improvement, because serving and service has got to be about improvement. So quite like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. It doesn't say servant leadership anymore. It actually talks about true leadership, but it doesn't really define what true leadership is. And it's not something you can kind of Google and find out. It's partly why we added the leading section as well in the latest version of the wheel there as well.
Yeah, and I think that's really good because, in the past, I've mistakenly said something about, oh, here to serve the organization or here to serve the team. And my peers, who are obviously a bit more learned than me, have pointed me out with, Mandy, it no longer says that in the Scrum Guide, but I still like the, you know, the serving aspect of it.
Yeah. So what would you highlight in terms of what you learned about yourself using the wheel?
So again, I'm going to use this kind of like my chiropractor often uses this with me. He says, come on, Mandy, let's use the inside out approach now. Let's go in with the emotions. So I quite like the fact that the segments are split in a way where it really resonates with me, like what I love. So I love the fact that it's got coaching, facilitating, advising, guiding, learning. I love that because that means you're trying to step into this kind of role of helping others, but you cannot really help others if you do not work on yourself. So I looked at the segments and I thought, okay, well, coaching skills, coaching mindset, facilitating, you know, facilitation mindset skills. How am I going to do this? So during the pandemic, I opted for a coaching qualification, and it just helped me to no end in terms of facilitation, especially because, say, for example, you've got a peer, a colleague, you know, and both of you are, you know, on the same level in terms of your responsibilities there. You sometimes can sense, I know I can sometimes sense when somebody else is really wanting the reins more than myself. And that's okay because you then step back. But if you're a quiet voice and you listen more, then you may never get heard. And people may then observe you and say, oh, she never says anything. She's like, you know, doesn't contribute. So one of the courses that I went on, absolutely brilliant and loved it, was about alchemy, and it really teaches you about finding the other right. So you're finding the other right, and it's always about seeing the right in the other. So what you're doing is you're trying to sparkle and shine with the other. And it's not just like, you know, one of you is trying to sparkle and shine. And by virtue of having this mindset, because you're embodying it, because you're wearing it, it just kind of, I don't know, something happens, something alchemy happens. It just dissipates into that other person feeling that you're finding them right. And they then reciprocate and find you right. And it's so nice. It's you know, stuff like that that you learn and you practice is just, I don't know, it kind of creates this beautiful relationship. And I am all about relationship creating. I don't want to destroy relationships. I want to create relationships and have greater and better relationships.
Yeah. Thank you for that. So you've obviously you've used the wheel as a compass to help you orientate your growth. The growth that you've been working on, what's then been the impact that's had on others?
So I think one of the things that the one of my clients has kind of feedback by virtue of action. So they've really liked the way that my coaching and facilitation has come across, and they've been trying to promote that more. So the facilitation aspect of, if you're a facilitator, then you don't need to talk too much. You know, you're there to facilitate. And those kinds of, you know, qualities, I guess. So it's been wonderful for me as a, you know, trying to get to that middle bit of self-mastery. You know, can one ever get to self-mastery? I don't know, but to get to that point where you can really transform those around you by virtue of your behavior. And I think the thing that I love most is the mentoring. If you call yourself a mentor, that's brilliant. But then how are you mentoring? Are you mentoring with the learning mindset? And if you're learning, then your learning promotes and generates humility, because learning means I'm here to learn. I'm not here just to teach, I'm here to learn
Hmm.
from you, and and vice versa. So I think that aspect is probably one of my favorite ones. I've always, well, so far I've always got like really good feedback from people about coaching and my style of facilitation. There have been times, I'm not going to lie, um, because that's how we improve. I've had feedback of, Mandy, you need to slow down, you're going too fast. And I know that I need to improve that, because my eye is often on the clock, ticking, ticking, ticking. Knowing that when I facilitate, we're trying to facilitate within a set period. So we want to try and cover a lot and make sure that everyone has had a chance to say something if they need to say something. So preparing the workshop, whatever it is, in such a way that that happens is really important.
So is that an area that you kind of looking to improve? That's kind of what you're saying there. Actually, is that looking at the wheel now as an overall? Is that the most important thing you're working on yourself now, or is it some other aspect that you want to work on yourself next?
I think the other thing that I probably would like to grow further with myself would be the advising, giving advice, and partnering. I don't think I do that as well as I could. I've got a secret self. I am actually quite shy, believe it or not. And I'm quite happy in my own company and world, and that just leaves me at a little bit of a loss sometimes, because then I'm not partnering enough, and I want to, I want to be able to advise and give advice better. Okay, cool.
Yes.
I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for inviting me on this. I just a little bit of feedback. I really love the colours of the wheel, because I love the fact that the inside segments stand out in the way that they do, and the outer segments give you a bit more info on the aspects of the inside one. So like facilitating, the facilitation mindset and the skills, and the guiding learning. You've got the teaching, mentoring, learning mindset. I really like that, and I think more people should look at this if they really do want to become facilitators and trainers and mentors. I think it would be brilliant if more people used it. And thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Mandy, for talking to us, and it's been great to have you on and listen to your stories. So thank you very much for sharing.